Thanks for staying with us. We're staying now in Africa, where President Cyril Ramaphosa has said on Wednesday that the United States' decision to boycott the G20 summit in South Africa later this month would not prevent the meeting of the world's leading economies from going ahead. Pretoria and Washington have clashed over a range of policy issues, including South Africa's summit agenda, culminating in President Trump announcing over the weekend that no U.S. official will attend the Johannesburg gathering. He said, quote, "We will take fundamental decisions and their absence is their loss." That's coming from President Ramaphosa as he spoke with reporters in the coastal city of Cape Town. Pretoria and Washington have clashed over a range of policies, and they are also clashing over how white South Africans are being treated over land issues. We're joined now by Global Affairs Analyst, Dr. Jide Ojo. He joins us virtually. Good to have you join us, Dr. Ojo.
It's my pleasure. Good afternoon.
So I just want to get your reaction to this latest part. We thought that this had been settled coming from the visit of President Ramaphosa to the U.S., but it looks like the United States president still seems to be having issues with how white South African farmers are being treated in South Africa, even though South Africa has denied any of such allegations.
Well, that's Donald Trump for you. He's a very highly opinionated individual, very is somebody that hardly listens to or heed to other opinion. You could see how he did over the issue of the shutdown, the longest so far, 43 days. But you see, it is what it is. South Africa has said the right thing. They are going ahead to host the G20. And you could see that this is about, in my own estimation, a kind of reverse discrimination. When it comes to this time of South Africa hosting this G20, that's when you are boycotting. You didn't boycott the Brazilian one last year. You know you are the next host coming in 2026. And the issues have supposedly been laid to rest. The man came around, proved you don't have conclusive proof that there were what was called white genocide against the white farmers. Even against the tradition of South Africa, they released statistics of people who were killed. There were more people killed on their farms than white people. But you still don't want to listen. So it shows the bias or prejudice that Donald Trump, just not for us, not just for South Africa, but for Nigeria and the rest of African countries. It's unfortunate that African Union is also part of this G20, and they don't just have a voice. And imagine Donald Trump saying that he wished that South Africa would be expelled from the G20. What kind of rhetoric is that? Here is the same man that is pleading for Benjamin Netanyahu that he should be forgiven of whatever crimes he has allegedly committed. So you see the double standard in the way Donald Trump handles international affairs. Even for Africa. And then Africa,
but I want to quickly jump in. Apologies, I want to quickly jump in. I just want to get your own thought. You made your last thought with what this particular question. President Ramaphosa has said that U.S. is, quote, giving up the very important role that they should be playing as the biggest economy in the world. Is this a loss for the U.S., the non-attendance, and would it have any implication on the role they play in the global order?
Well, I don't think it's going to have any negative implication on the role America plays in global order. Recall that the G20 is made up of string bedfellows, the entire member of the BRICS, as well as wider countries like Indonesia, and even Saudi Arabia and Korea. Stuff. So I don't think it's going to have any backlash on U.S. Either economic-wise or whatever. But I'm just looking at it from the angle of even when there are no conclusive evidence against South Africa committing genocide against white farmers, you are hell-bent that the country is guilty without any proof. Not only that, here is a man that refused to learn from history of what South Africa and the black South Africans have suffered, centuries of land dispossession from 1948 to 1994. The white supremacists, embarked on apartheid policy where blacks were routinely, discriminated against, murdered, all manner of injustices and human rights abuses against South Africa. I think Donald Trump should have learned about what the apartheid policy was. Now, because Cyril Ramaphosa because South African Parliament passed a legislation which Cyril Ramaphosa signed early in the year, in January, you are now saying all of a sudden that there is genocide against white farmers. And now he has accepted to have some of the African, some of the white
as
farmers
refugees,
as refugees in US,
in the
even
US.
when he's rounding up other people and sending them back to their respective countries. So that's double standard in my own opinion.
Well, somebody once said diplomacy is double standard. Well, I guess that also ties into what you just said. But I wanted to ask you about he's mentioned over and over again that in this particular context, he's wondering why South Africa is a member of the G20 and should not be. And the G20 is not a treaty-based organization like the UN. It does not have a legal charter or constitution. But when you look at how, or the historical precedents that led to Russia's expulsion from when it was then the G8, can the US get South Africa out of the G20, and will it get a consensus that it needs if it were to push for it?
I'm not sure it will get that kind of consensus that it was able to get. America was able to get when it was G8. Don't forget that, like I said earlier on, the BRICS countries, including Russia, China, India, Brazil, are already in the G20. So you are not going to likely get the support of the BRICS member in G20. And you cannot run away from the fact that South Africa is the biggest economy in Africa today, bigger than that of Nigeria, because we have been running neck to neck. But the issue for me is whether he even gets the South Africans suspended or not. This white, I think the action of Donald Trump borders on racism. In my own opinion, this is personal to me. It borders on racism. When Israel is killing Gazans in their hundreds of thousands, it wasn't genocide. When it's the case of Nigeria, it becomes genocide because some Christians were killed, whereas both faiths were losing, adherents, both Christians and Muslims. Now, in the case of South Africa, because one white farmer was killed, you didn't factor in the multiple, higher number of black people who are similarly murdered on their farms. So that is not appropriate. That is it is what it is. It's international politics.
Dr. Gideojo, we do have to leave it there because of time. My apologies for butting it, but we have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time as always. Global Affairs Analyst, Dr. Gideojo.
My pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your day.